Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday show. For all you people who missed out, there was a Rumble pre-show. Cannibalistic Wizard was there. OG Costin was listening in, and Green Badger Outdoors was there, right?
Yes.
They got to hear all the juicy details behind the scenes, and you guys all missed out on it.
Mind you, we didn't really say much. I'll be fair.
Don't say that. It was very exciting. Go watch this on Rumble.
It was riveting. Trying to figure out Discord problems. Thank God. Hello everybody in chat. Hello Jen. Hello Terry. How you guys doing?
Not bad. How are you?
I'm well. Jen?
I'm alright. I'm just fighting off a Chinook headache. Was on Pat's stream and I was doing fine. Well, no, that's not true. I took some Tylenol then too. But I should be okay. I did take something. It's kind of weaning off, but it feels like having your head in a vice and you're like, head pressure.
I hope you feel better.
Yeah, it'll go away. It'll go away. Just waiting for the drugs to kick in.
I'm already getting a warning from YouTube saying that we're not sending enough data. So I don't know. The stream looks fine to me. I mean, I'm watching it and it's not buffering anything like that, but it's complaining because it's YouTube. But we should probably say hello to everybody else who's in chat. Let me scroll back. Hello, Spudgun, Mr. Adam. Scrolling. Just Spud was here early today. What am I missing? Oh, Dr. Tier. Who else? Green Badger Outdoors on YouTube as well. Cynic. Who else? I'm having problems with one of my monitors, so I have to lean over to try to read because I can't read at a distance still talking to the microphone to be all sexy and everything. Am I missing anybody? Hey, JB is here. Mike R. Hello, Mike R. Johnny Hellcat.
Yep.
Welcome, our Thursday night host. Addie is here. Hey, Addie. Yeah, everybody. It looks like everybody. We'll have people join as we go up with the rest of the night. Couple of quick things. The categories for tonight, probably a little more obtuse than normal. Pearly is about I try to be a hint without being obvious, but some of these are probably too far. But for those people who watch the Pearly Things stream, Pearl Davis, who runs it, went on Trigonometry, which is another podcast, and it was a bit contentious. So we'll get into that. Hopefully, you guys have you seen that by any chance? Her appearance? No. I'll let you in on it. It's interesting.
I do have it on Twitter for me to watch later, but I didn't have time to watch it before.
Yeah, no, I only put the show notes out at like 7:15, so I didn't give you any time. You know what I should do? I should give you guys the show notes earlier in the day, and then just post them at 7:15 on YouTube like normal. That way, you guys have a chance to catch up. Probably doing it all at once is probably not smart. So I'm kind of hamstringing you guys. AI. There was a story about OnlyFans girls are being pissed that they're being replaced by AI on OnlyFans. Yeah, men are making AI girls, putting them on OnlyFans, and then monetizing the channel. So they're not even real people, and they're not even girls. They're guys doing this.
I mean, it just goes to show that, one pair of tits is as good as the next, I suppose.
If they do a good job with the AI, they look real. I guess. GWGB is Get Woke, Go Broke. Anheuser-Busch profits are now down over 5 billion. That's billion with a B. And counting. No rebound on their loss so far. They're still tanking. So I don't know how long that's going to last. I'm getting
hopefully for a good long time.
Even if it only lasted for one whole year, it would do enough damage to their company to really set a precedent. And I know some people are mixed feelings on this one, But I think because of what they picked, Booze wasn't the one to go with.
Well, I mean, the whole thing is like if you piss off the left, they will make your life hell. If you piss off the right, they'll complain about it on Twitter. So it's like it's a very easy decision for companies to make which side they're going to align themselves with. Now the right is finally pushing back, and it's actually,
Yeah.
don't piss us off either, kind of thing.
Right. The final category, if we get to it, is BBC Liar. Elon tweeted out today after his interview with a BBC reporter that he wants to defund not BBC. The interview was with BBC, but his contentiousness is with NPR. He put a tag on them saying they were government funded and they didn't like it, so they decided that they weren't going to be on Twitter anymore. So Elon tweeted out, defund NPR.
Fair enough.
That's pretty funny. I got to give one thing to Elon, if nothing else. I mean, the guy wants to go to Mars. He's making cars, Neuralink, boring. You name all the things that he's doing that's pretty cool. But when he gets on Twitter, he has a really good sense of humor. He makes me laugh.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a smart ass in a very amusing way.
Yeah. Hey, Shroom. Welcome to the chat.
Cannibalistic is saying there's something wrong with the audio on Rumble.
There's something wrong with the audio on Rumble. All right, let's jump over to Rumble. Is it me or is it everybody or?
He didn't say. He just said the fuck is wrong with audio.
Is everybody having a problem on Rumble? Because we got a couple people over there. Let me type into Rumble chat because I can do that now.
Mm-hmm.
Is everyone? Can't spell. There's no B in everyone.
Everyone.
Everyone having audio. God, my typing is terrible. Wasn't even close to being English.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well. If I can get a consensus that there's a problem and it's not just one person, then I'll take a look at it. But looking at OBS, Rumble OBS says you're perfect.
Okay.
So I don't know what's going on there. I'm actually having more problems with YouTube than I am Rumble. If you run into a problem with YouTube's stream, just refresh the screen and you should be fine. But looking at the screen, if you look in the bottom right corner, it says this network meter, nice flat line going across. So we're sending good stuff. Shouldn't be having any problems.
Yeah, seems to be.
So keep an eye on it. If anybody sees anything weird going on, don't be afraid to let me know. I'll see what I can do. So those are the categories for the evening. Unless you guys have something else, you wanna pick one?
No, I think that those are good topics.
No, those are good topics. The only thing that I saw that was funny, and I wouldn't make it a topic, but I still think it is funny, is that there's going to be more Harry Potter autism. There just is. Because they're going to they are remaking it for a TV show. So,
sometimes.
Yeah, between the right that, I admit they do read a little bit on the Twitter. Oh, it's going to be full on war with the Twitter going, no, J.K. Rowling, no more Harry Potter, blah, blah, blah. Don't you hate trans people, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay.
Well,
sure.
I don't think anybody in the right has a problem with J.K. Rowling. It's only the left that has a problem with her. So
pretty much.
I think it's interesting because I hate J.K. Rowling for the same reason the left hates J.K. Rowling, which is she agrees with 99% of the positions of the left.
That's true. It's just the 1% that's driving everybody crazy, or at least everybody in the left.
Yeah, but I don't like her because she agrees with them 99%, and they don't like her because she only agrees 99%.
Isn't that weird? We've gotten to the point now where just one thing is enough to me. And I don't really think the term TERF is appropriate for her because I don't see her as being radical. But of course, TEF doesn't make any sense.
Radical feminism is a type of feminism. It doesn't necessarily mean that she herself is a radical. It's just radical feminism is the type of feminism she subscribes to.
But they're calling her a TERF. They're saying you are a TERF. So you are a radical feminist. And I don't think she is.
No, the radical feminist doesn't mean a feminist who is radical. It means a subscriber of the radical feminist ideology.
It's kind of like a lot of people, Hammer. I don't think she started off as a TERF. I think she is a TERF now, though.
I don't even think she's a TERF. I think trans exclusionary in as far as she doesn't want them in female spaces, but she doesn't hate transgender people or transgenderism. She's not like Matt Walsh, where she's trying to destroy the ideology. She just doesn't want men in women's spaces.
Yeah, but that's enough for them, though, Terry. That's part of that is part of the argument. It's actually kind of why I think they're going the route that they are. Like, between trying to go after smaller children where, you know, they think that the transition means that they're going to be more like a woman, which isn't true either. No. Or, you know, if you don't believe in every aspect of it, like, yeah, this space maybe should be just exclusive to females. Oh, you don't really think I'm a female then? And that's the problem. Like, they've taken it so far to loopy land that you can't even reason common sense to them. And
no, I agree. I'm just saying that I don't even think trans exclusionary necessarily applies to J.K. Rowling. She just disagrees with one small aspect of the trans ideology, and she's public enemy number one.
Mm-hmm.
Green Badger Outdoor says, I'm a little surprised they didn't call her a fascist. I'm sure
they will.
There are plenty out there that have, and if they haven't yet, they will.
Oh, they have. She sued somebody for it and won.
Yeah. But I mean, even, I don't really think that she's that much of a feminist. She's definitely woke. She's definitely on the left. But she doesn't seem, she just seems like she's protecting women. And I don't know if, I mean, it is kind of a thing of the right. The right are really upset about it. The right really just go on and on about the whole fact of this process of trying to eliminate her because she believes the only women are the ones that are biological. You know?
I mean, I kind of agree.
I still want to have a debate with somebody who has another opinion, because I think, you know, I don't want to say that I'm Ben Shapiro here, but I think I've got every argument beat. Everything I've heard from these people, every time they say this or that, I've already have solutions to whatever argument they're going to make. You know,
because their position is incoherent. So all you need to know is, you know, reality. And
that's a good point. But the only people
that was what Matt Walsh was saying. Remember when he did Dr. Phil?
Yeah. What is that?
He was saying, well, after he did that, he was saying, look, I'm not a smart guy, but luckily you don't need to be a smart guy to point out objective reality.
Yeah. That's the same argument Ben used to give. He used to say, I don't need to have a doctorate from a college that you approve of. I know right from wrong, and I don't need to have a doctorate to do that. I can read a report, you know? So, I mean, this is very common for the Daily Wire. They all follow that same trajectory.
I mean, it's a sensible position. You don't need an accreditation to have an opinion and
it's
have
the same
that opinion be valid.
I just had this conversation on Twitter myself with somebody, and they were talking about, they told me, well, you've never been married. And of course I have been married, but they didn't know that because they think they know me, kind of deal. You know how the left is. They immediately assign you into, oh, you're this person, therefore all these things about you are true. And I didn't offer the fight to say that, yeah, I am married. I was like, well, I don't have to be married to be able to speak on the subject. I said, I'm not a puppy, but I know abusing puppies is bad.
Well, the example that always made me laugh was there was this comedian who was making the same point, saying to highlight that you don't need to be in like an expert. He's like, I don't know how to fly a helicopter, but if I see one in a tree, I know something went wrong. I know it's not meant to be there.
Well, Matt did a college. He's on a campus college kind of tour going on right now. And he said, if a female goes to the doctor and says, I can't have babies, the doctor's going to say to her, well, let's see what's wrong. But if a male goes to a doctor and says, I can't have babies, the doctor is not going to say, well, let's see what's wrong.
Yeah, that was when when Matt Walsh was talking to that transgender person
Yeah.
in yeah.
Mhm.
Forget
Because
what
she was trying to say, if you don't, like, if you've had a hysterectomy, are you suddenly no longer a woman? And he's just like, there's a, pointing out what a stupid argument that was.
Yeah,
Well,
he went to the nature of women. It's kind of a
Yeah.
weird argument, but what were we going to say, Jen?
well, that's kind of part of the flaw that the left has made, and I do point fingers at the feminists too on that end, because a lot of them were throwing out women who have struggles with having children into the same category. And don't get me wrong, I don't doubt that there are some women who absolutely struggle with having children, who are bitter as fuck and are leftists. But the thing is you don't throw that kind of thing out there and then act like every woman is going to just be, oh, I think you're a good person for doing that. Not when it comes to that end of femalehood. It's just, I don't know why the feminists even went there in the first place, because every time that they do that, there's at least one woman in the crowd who's like, wow, I experienced that, or my family member experienced that, or my bestie experienced that. And you're talking about it like it's such an easy thing to do. Like, this isn't, like,
The right makes a huge mistake in the argument. This is where I think they have to clean their act up. Is the right makes a huge mistake. Whenever they talk about this, they go to pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the wrong way to go. Don't go to pregnancy, because they'll just shoot back at you. Well, what happens if they can't get pregnant? So don't go there. Don't give them the opportunity to come back at you. When somebody says to you, what defines a woman? It's much easier to stay away from pregnancy and stay with the things that are non-changeable. That way they can't come back. If someone came to me and said, what is a woman? I would say a woman is a person who has a pelvis designed to pass a baby. How can you argue with that? Because we're talking bones here, Then
they'll come up with something like, so what if they have a hip replacement? Like, is that...
They could still have a baby. Hip replacements do not stop you from having a baby.
No, but that's what they'd say. Is like, if they had a hip replacement and they got the wrong hip, are they no longer a woman?
Yeah, no, because you can be hipless and still have a baby. That part of the pelvis, the hips, are on the outside. They have nothing to do with the inside, the baby area, with the pelvis. So they could say that, but that's an easy fix. If they say, "Oh, hips," well, you don't need hips to have a baby. And it's by design, not function. A pelvis designed to have a baby, not capable of.
I think that the nature of women was a bit of a weird wording.
Yes.
I think he's making the same basic point you are, which is...
He is.
There's the purpose of the biological design.
Exactly.
Rather than what it may or may not be
capable of
in an individual example.
Right. We're both saying the same thing. I think he's saying the wrong words, though, because if he gets to, the nature of things, that's too wishy-washy. But if you can get right to it was designed to do this, you can't argue with that. It was designed to do that, and men are not designed to do that. It's straight up. It's hard to. I mean, I'm sure they will come up with some ridiculous thing, but the audience will just laugh at them. So they have to be really, really, really ridiculous. And to be honest with you, in all of this going on, my least important thing is gender. I don't care about gender. I have no care about gender whatsoever. You be what you want to be. As long as you don't force me into your delusion, then you can do whatever you want. I don't care. And there are people who are transgender that I love, that I know, that are, so it's not a personal thing. My problem is with the activists who say, you will call me this and you will do that. That kind of authoritarian reflex from these people is what I really had the problem with. My only issue is when they start getting into sex, because again, the right makes a mistake, like just about everybody does. It kind of drives me crazy, of mixing gender and sex. Now, I understand from Matt's point of view that he believes that they're linked. And okay, I can accept that. I don't know if I do. I don't really care that much. But people will start talking about male and female, and then they'll go to man and woman, and then they'll go back to male and female, and then they'll go back to woman. One of those is gender. The other one is a sex. Stop mixing them up. Now, like I said, gender isn't really that big of a thing, but if you start fucking with me when it comes to sex, there's two sexes. End of story. Yeah. And I can make you tell me that. If I get into an argument with a leftist, I can make them tell me that I'm right. All you gotta have to do, it's a real simple thing. How many sexes are necessary to procreate? It's got to be 2. Okay, 3. It's got to be 2. And if you answer anything but 2, then everyone laughs at them. Because we all know it takes 2. It takes a male and female. That makes a baby. That's just how life is. So I'm not, as long as you can live with there are 2 sexes, and I don't really care what you say about your gender. I don't really care. That's just what it is about you. I am a male and I'm a man. And like I said, there's plenty of people on Daily Wire who believe those two are linked. And I can make the argument for that. Look, you have 3,462 genders. We're taking men and women. You can have all the rest of them. You know, I can do that, but can you tell them a little tweaked about this?
I am still waiting for the day that on the corner we have a game called Poe or No Gender Edition, where Frosted has
Poe or No.
Three different genders. One of them he made up. The other 2 are taken from the LGBTQIA wiki. And the game is, which one did Frosted make up? I am waiting for like male or man to be on the Poe or No Gender Edition. like man or woman.
Yeah, I'm sure they're all two-spirit and pansexual and all these weird.
Oh, they are some seriously ridiculous things. There's Shakespearean, where you
Shakespearean,
where your gender is associated with Shakespeare.
Oh my God!
There was.
Jen, are you Shakespearean?
No.
There's my gender, 60 FPS plus gender.
It actually goes straight to there.
That's hilarious.
This is why I don't think it's just what you're saying, Hammer, because they're really going after the most vulnerable people that we have. Like, between going after children who are already easy enough to confuse, they're already going after people who are kind of struggling as it is. Like, I don't think every person that's come out lately is actually trans. I think a lot of them are guys who, in all honesty, have been hammered on by society to think that being a man is like the worst thing on the planet, and just dressing up like a woman might get you somebody treating you a little bit nicer for a little bit. And that must mean I see myself as a woman. I think they're diagnosing a lot of people with trans, because I honestly would be afraid if I was somebody with trans. I would, because trying to talk to somebody from a professional point of view, I would be fishing around and make sure that the person I'm talking to, who's supposed to be genuinely caring about me, isn't just trying to grift on me so that they can get more money out of it. Because I don't think everybody has dysphoria. I don't. I think some people have it, and I think they're diagnosing everybody with it. It's like back when everybody's kid had ADD or ADHD, you know, and they're just handing out this recommendation as the bandage for it. And it's like, no.
I mean, I think a good question is, what do they stand to gain from claiming to be trans?
Protected class.
No, I know, but like if a male athlete suddenly decides that they're female, then that puts a big question mark over the legitimacy of their transness, because there is a direct benefit of being able to play against women, which, you know, or if you're in a school where being male is, as Jen said, you know, equivalent to being Satan, but being transgender is the equivalent of being, you know, God. It's like, you know, I will make that change. I will. I like, if there's a concrete benefit to transitioning besides the relief of dysphoria, it does rather call into question the legitimacy of the situation.
If you can beat them at the argument, then everything flows downhill from there. If you beat them at the argument, then there are no trans women in sports. If you beat them at the argument, there is no kids being castrated. If you beat them at if you start at the beginning, then everything downhill from there gets removed. So the idea, the important thing is to beat them at the argument first. My opinion.
Well,
yeah, no, I agree.
I agree too. It's just it is frustrating. Like, it's not like I haven't seen this system do shit like this before. It's just before it was it's always evolving to something else. And my next fear is that like they're gonna let it slide to something else. Like if they're willing to do the kind of shit that they're willing to do to a child, like yeah, I am thinking of Jazz Jennings or like I don't like to think of a child never having the option, and I don't like saying the word orgasm and child in the same sentence because it's still disgusting, but having that option taken away from a kid who might grow up to be an adult to experience that joy, that's not something you take away from a child. That's something the child makes the decision when they're an adult. Sorry, that's just end of story.
Well, I do get like your squeamishness. The whole like thing is kids obviously don't have orgasms, but you still can't take away the potential for them to have them as adults.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Well,
like
maybe a better way to do it where you won't feel uncomfortable is to say that they're taking away their ability to have a family.
Yes.
Or procreate might be a better way instead of worrying about the fun part.
Well,
the more serious part might be a better approach.
Here's the thing, though, Hammer. Like some of those kids might end up being gay, so maybe they don't end up having kids.
Maybe
being gay doesn't either way, but it's still. Even if you were trans, I don't think that you're necessarily going to go that far. Like I know that it is something that pushes you to do it, but not everybody wants to go that far because I would imagine with so many medical issues tied to it, or it does feel a little bit like Frankenstein. Like people are testing things on you a little bit at the same time as they're promising you that this is going to fix everything. And yeah, that's something that you might do as an adult in the hopes that maybe in the future you share that information with the next generation. But no to children. No, because it's like I remember when they were doing the eye surgery. When that first came out, yeah, there were people who were blind from it. 20 years now, it's a much easier, different. Like the doctors know what they're doing.
Yeah. But
this stuff, a lot of what they're doing is internalized stuff. Like this isn't just a tattoo where the chemicals go wrong. This is very internalized stuff. So yeah, I do want that limited to adults who. Yeah. I've known adults.
I think you're right. I really think that a fair portion, I don't know how much, but I think a fair portion of these kids are going to end up being gay. And I think a lot of parents aren't really happy with the fact that their kid could be gay. So let's make them trans. That's actually a plus, where being gay is a minus. They see their son playing with dolls and say, well, he can't be gay. Let's make him trans. Because trans is the thing, but being gay, well, we don't want a gay kid, So I think there's a little bit of shame there.
I think it's parents thinking of their kids as fashion accessories. Like, oh, I don't want a straight one. That's out of
that's boring.
Fashion. Yeah, I want one of them trans kids. Billy, you're not going to wear dresses, okay?
Which, if that was all it was, I wouldn't have as big of an issue, but it's not.
No, it's much worse than that. It's much worse than that. I really think that if I were to, I'm a 60. There's no chance for me I don't even want to have kids, never did. But I think if I had my own child, that if they did things that, like it was a boy, was playing with dolls, I'd just ignore it, and let the kid, let him. You want to play with dolls? Go ahead, play with dolls. I'll be over here working on the car. You play with dolls all you want. You know, if he's going to be close to me, he's going to see me working on the car, and he's going to want to help me work on the car. And now I've moved him into a more male-centric.
Yeah, I mean, all you can really do is be a male role model for the boy, and then, I mean, he'll take up. Most kids want the approval of their parents. If he sees you working on a car, he'll want your approval, so he'll try and get involved in that activity.
Right, and that's what being a good parent is.
Yeah.
You know,
for the record, Lisa, I don't think that you're a Frankenstein. It's just some of the images that I was seeing for the ladies' side of it, where they reconstruct a penis and how they go about doing it, like taking flesh from your arm or your leg, and it never grows back. And it's not a penis. Sorry, that thing is not it ain't a penis. So you just went through all of that for that.
So it's important to note that this doesn't have to do with individuals. You know, I like Lisa. I like all the trans people I know. I like all of them. I actually have better relationships with some trans people than I do with people who are not trans. I mean, I don't know why that would be unusual, but it just seems to work out that way. There are people that I'm very close to who are trans, and I'm not close to very many people. And this is more about the effects of the activists than it is about your personal being when it comes to being trans.
Well, that's what I mean. With what Jen was saying about, you know, it's not a real penis or real vagina, I think that's why the suicide rate is as high as it is because they're promised, oh no, you get this procedure done, all your problems will go away, you'll be happy, and then they're not.
They are. It seems to be like a
body permanently.
It seems to be like there's a honeymoon period for like maybe 5 months or so where, you know, but then it seems to wear off. You know, I don't really have any proof of that.
Kicks in. Once they realize that,
I guess
they're still depressed.
That's the most tragic part of this, is that there's such a high rate of suicide both before and eventually after. There's something wrong. If your suicide rate is that high, there's got to be something wrong, and there's got to be a way of fixing it.
It's more of just, Lisa, like, it doesn't need to go that far. Like, I get that, like, part of the thing with transitioning is trying to look enough like the sex that you're trying to look like. And in all honesty, when people give a shit about you, that part's easy. You know, it might take me a little bit of time. Like I sure flopped with Eve's girlfriend twice because my brain takes a little bit. But if I care about you, that part's not hard. It's the stuff where, yeah, I might take a little bit to get used to saying it. Like, sometimes the weirdest things will tip me off that, okay, something's not right with the image that I'm getting here. But you can always talk to a girl like a friend, like, about that kind of stuff, because that's what friends do. But it's the stuff that I worry about. It's none of my business because I'm not you. But at the same time, as a friend, I don't want to think of somebody using you as a Frankenstein experiment, because you're a human being. You know, like, yeah, I want all the things that you try to do to be things that you can achieve, but I don't want the things that you do to be things that fuck you over so much that you end up killing yourself, you know? Like that. It's such a weird tie to be a friend with somebody who's going to do what they're going to do. It's watching your back when I can. Watch out for this kook. They're a weirdo. Stay away from that doctor. They're a weirdo.
Just a quick note here. Jack's here, so we have to end the stream.
I did tell him to come back in half an hour.
Yeah, I saw that. That's pretty funny. So we didn't really talk about Pearl. We have Pearl, we have AI, Get What Go Broke, and BBC Liar. Is anyone in here that you want to?
I didn't watch the trigonometry, but I am curious what happened with that. So
yeah.
Okay,
go ahead.
That's your vote. Okay. All right. Well, for people who don't know, there's a podcast on YouTube called Just Pearly Things. The person who runs the podcast, her name is Pearl Div. She's 26, white girl, very pale, very redhead, very freckles, kind of attractive. Not going to blow your socks off, but kind of attractive.
No, she's average.
Yeah. I mean, I like her more than average. Some people think she's downright ugly. So I mean, there's a swath.
Yeah.
But in any case, she is single, and her podcast is a discussion about dating, and it centers on women's roles in dating and how women's roles are kind of screwed up right now, and how and their expectations of dating. And Pearl tries to hit them with facts to try to bring them more into line. I think that's what her point is.
She's basically doing what Kevin Samuels used to do.
Basically, but it's a much different coming from her than it was from him.
Right, but it's the same.
I think it hits.
Messaging.
Yeah, I think it hits harder from her because she is a girl than it did from him.
True.
He was just. I don't know. I didn't really. I've watched a few of his things, and I was like, oh, he's all right. Pearl kind of gets these girls in places where they can't argue. They're shown the light of day, and they don't have a response to it. She'll say stuff like, if a girl gets pregnant, that's her fault. Straight up, that's her fault. And well, yeah, but how often do you hear a woman say that to another woman or a panel of women? Right. And then they try to push back, and she says, look, you have 41 different versions of birth control. You can't stop this? And all the girls go silent because then they realize, whoa. Men have one, condom. Yeah. Unless you get a vasectomy, you have one way. And women have 41, and you can't? And she'll say to them, who's in charge of sex? Who controls sex? Women do. Well, then so if you control sex, then you control pregnancy. There's no two ways around that, you know? And when she starts putting these things in people's faces, she gets a lot of people from the woke culture, a lot of people from the left, giving her a lot of grief. Ab and Preach, who I like Ab and Preach. I think they're hilarious. They gave her shit because, well, for multiple reasons. But on the other hand, just today, Lauren Chen came out in support of her. So even on the right, or people are even centrist, leaning right, whatever you want to call it, I think Abba is pretty much on the right. I think Preach is still centrist like me. Mm-hmm. You know, he goes both ways. Putting the responsibility on women is kind of her thing. And it doesn't really matter, you know, birth control is just one subject. Abortion, she goes through the whole thing. Women, she was on a podcast, I think it was for Vice or Vox or one of those lefty V letters.
Vice, I think it was Vice.
Was it Vice? She was on there with Sydney Watson. Yeah. She was on there with what's that?
Eli Ehrlich was one name.
It was supposed to be representative, but it was a panel of 8 with 2 trans people.
Yeah.
Sorry, but that number doesn't. They're only 7% right now and how many of those are real trans? 7% doesn't honor 2 spots on the panel. But in any case, she was on there, and she had those women ready to get out of their chairs and fight her, physically go after her. A lot of them, especially that crippled girl on the right hand side in the front. Oh my God! I mean, if she didn't have any legs, imagine if she had legs. I think she would have jumped over in there and started beating on her. She was really, really pissed because
that's true.
Pearl was saying, you know, women have it easy.
Yeah.
And all the girls were like, what? Women do not. We're the most oppressed. We're victims. And she's like, no, what barriers do you have? And they never answered her.
Well, I do like that every time she asked about the barriers, the crippled lady was just like, I have no legs. It's like, okay, but as a woman, like a disabled man would have the same barriers that you have.
Yeah.
What as a woman is holding you back? And she had no answer.
Nobody had an answer because a lot of people spoke up about women have lots of barriers. Women have lots of barriers. There was a overweight colored girl in the center in the top row who mentioned barriers, and went after her. What barriers? You know, as a woman, what barriers? I'm just talking about women here. What barriers? And she couldn't answer her. None of them could because they don't have any. You know, somebody answer. No one is in it.
it is a lot easier when you've got all these programs in place specifically to help women. That there's no equivalent for men because they're perceived to have the natural advantage. So they're trying to balance the playing field by catering to women.
Suicide's a misleading statistic when it comes to men and women. They say that women attempt suicide much more than men do, and that's true. Men succeed more often.
Yeah, pretty much.
By quite a large margin.
Yes. And that's because when women attempt it, they're not,
cry for help.
They don't, it's more of a cry for help. They're not really serious about it. They just want people to know that they did it so that they get victim points or get treatment. I mean, it could be legitimate too, but yeah. So, I mean, when a guy commits suicide, he's not fucking around. He's going to do it.
The methods that they use
we
kind of tell the story because women tend to go for things like overdoses. Men tend to go for bullets.
yeah, because it's a manly way of doing it. Manly men got to do it.
But I think also women want to preserve their image. Like if you blow your brains out, that's not a very attractive corpse that you're leaving. And I think even in death, women want to look pretty and nice. So something like an overdose that doesn't destroy your appearance is like in their minds a better way to do it.
I guess. I can't get into a mind of a woman. So that's what Pearl went on another podcast called Trigonometry. It's actually Triggernometry, not Trigger. Because the people that they have. Good.
No, I'm just saying it's not the maths concept with like sine and cosine. It's trigger as in upsetting people. Yeah.
And their whole spiel, I think they're two British guys. Their whole spiel is that they bring on controversial hosts and get into, controversial subjects with these controversial hosts. So they had Pearl on because at one point Pearl had Nick Fuentes on her stream. And
I will not forgive her for apologizing. She shouldn't have made that apology video.
Probably not. But again, she mentioned that there were legal issues, so maybe she had to.
I guess.
He did mention at the beginning of this thing saying, I can't really talk too much about this because there's things legal in process that's going to prevent me from talking about it. In any case, these guys from Trigonometry immediately said, well, we would never platform a racist on our show. And yet their whole thing is having controversial people saying controversial things, but not him. He's too controversial for them.
Yeah, that's silly.
And then they went about in a roundabout way of telling her who she should have on her show and how she should run her show. You shouldn't have him on your show. You should have done this and you should have done that. You should have pushed back on him. So they're telling her how to run her show.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was me and you came to me and said, or I went to your podcast and you started telling me how to run my show, I'd fucking lose it. I would lose it. What the fuck? Who the fuck are you to tell me to run my show? I'll do my show any fucking way I want to run my show. I'll get very obstinate and very angry very quickly.
Yeah. There's two people on Trigonometry. The white guy, Francis, I cannot stand. The other guy, Constantine, he's a bit better. He's a bit better than Francis.
Well, he was the one who was really pushing her. Constantine Kissin is his name?
Yeah, that's him.
He was the one who was pushing her. He was like saying, he's a racist. You said he was a racist. He was racist right there. Why would you have someone like racist? He was the one who was pushing.
Well,
the other guy was
disappointing. Because usually Constantine is a bit more sensible than that.
He actually said
from his Twitter at least.
He said something like he outright insulted. And not that I'm upset that he insulted Fuentes. I don't give a shit.
No.
But like you, I expected it to be the other guy, not Constantine or however you pronounce his name. But he said I would never have a fucking racist on my show or something like that. I think he used the F word. I mean,
my question would be, why not? Like,
because they believe like the left, that if you have someone in your show that might make sense to somebody, that they'll lose that person to being a right-wing fascist. That's what they think can happen. In other words, the people who watch their show are too stupid to be able to figure things out for themselves.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it makes more sense to, okay, we're going to have the racist on and we're going to argue with him. We're going to present the non-racist perspective. And then, look, if the audience is dumb enough to think, you know what, I will start hating black people from now on, then they're idiots. I mean, what are you going to think? You can't prevent that if they're that easily swayed.
Frosted says, Hammer, I bet they don't even stream in 4K.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, Frosted. They don't. They're fucking amateurs. Only us pros do that. But yeah, no, I mean, that was the big story. And she didn't really push back at them. She did what she does on her own stream. She just kind of like, well, it is what it is. I would have went ballistic. I'm telling you, I'm going ballistic. Didn't even happen to me. And I'm going ballistic.
Yeah.
So I mean, she was just very congenial about it, and she warned them a second time at the end of the show. I can't talk about Fuentes. Stop asking me questions. Can you please just stop asking me? She actually said that, like in a I surrender kind of sound in her voice. She immediately became female. She immediately became a woman and said, "Look, you're beating up on me. Stop it."
I mean, if you can't talk for legal reasons, then what's the point of them asking the questions?
Yeah. And I kind of got the feeling that they thought that she was using that as an excuse.
But I mean, even if she is, that's her official answer. I mean, if she says, I'm not willing to talk about it, that's an answer in and of itself.
It reminds me of the whole thing with Sydney Watson and what was that guy's name? Jack something?
Murphy?
Murphy. Yeah. I mean, same thing where he said, look, I don't want to talk about that. And then 10 minutes later, she's asking him a question about it again. And he fucking lost
that was because of the super chat. That, like, she wasn't bringing it up again, so to speak. It was like someone in chat super chatted, and then she just blindly read it out without stopping and thinking, is this appropriate? She's
not a good host. You watch the good hosts, well, I don't ever have anything controversial. We don't have super chats. But you look at other hosts that are in this business, like Monkey. He's smart enough to know, if I read that, I'm going to lose my channel, But not Sydney. I just read anything that's put in front of me. That's a bad host. It's a good thing that she's on with Jeremy, so Jeremy can run things and she can be the number two.
I think Sydney should have said, "Thank you, Mr. Dick and Balls, for the donation." But
what's his name too, wasn't it? Dick and Balls.
That out loud.
That was the guy's name, wasn't it?
Yeah, Mr. Dick and Balls.
Dick and Balls. Great name. Gotta admit, it's a great name.
She should have just thanked him for the donation and explained, look, we've covered that. We're not going to bring it up again.
Right. Any good host would know. We've got 10 minutes and 3 choices. You want to pick one, Jen?
Well, I was going to say, I picked, so Jen's turn.
BBC Liar. Might as well.
Okay. This again was a video that I can't play on where a BBC journalist was managed to get X amount of time with Elon Musk, a busy man, but the BBC managed. My notes are wrong. My note says BBC Liar, then it says Elon wants to defund NPR. Those are two separate things. This is a BBC interview shot from the side, almost in silhouette. Elon's on the left, BBC journalist is on the right, and the BBC journalist says, since you've taken over, there's been a lot more hate being spewed on Twitter. And Elon says, oh, really? And the guy says, yes. And Elon says, well, give me an example. He says, you're on Twitter. And he says, yes, I am on Twitter. And he says, so give me an example of what the hate is that you're talking about. And the guy says, well, I haven't really been on Twitter in 3 weeks. And he said, well, yeah, but you were on Twitter before that. What was the example you can give me from 3 weeks ago? And the guy says, well, I can't really give you an example, but these other companies have all said that there's more hate on Twitter. And Elon said, so there's more hate. You said there was more hate. You didn't say they said. You said that there was more hate. Yet you can't give me an example, not even one example. And the guy says, well, I can't really give you an example. And he says, so you're basically just lying to me.
I mean, good on him for calling him out.
Yeah. And the guy says, well, let's move on. And he started asking Elon about something else, and Elon was just shaking his head the entire time. And the next subject they moved on to, that initial video went everywhere. And I saw it like 4 or 5 times from different people. There was one that extended it another like 2 minutes where they moved on to another subject, and Elon went after him for that subject too. But I only watched it once. I forget what it was about. But Elon didn't back down after that. He stayed right on the guy for the next subject that the guy brought up, because the guy brought up something that was equally untrue, at least in Elon's eyes. And Elon, we're going to let him get away with it. He's right back at him again. So that's what happened. And I can understand why Elon has such a problem with media.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Because of what's going on with NPR, now the BBC, and he's been treated bad by all of our major networks, NBC, CBS, CNN, all those guys, AP, you know, so I can understand him being pissed. I would be pissed too. He was going in looking for a fight.
Mm-hmm.
He was definitely going in looking for a fight. And that guy really looked bad. If you're going to ask a question like that, at least have an example. If I'm going into that thing as a reporter, I'm going to have 10 examples. You know?
It's just basic prep work.
Yep.
I mean,
I wouldn't give him any mercy for it. I mean, you're the guy going in. You're the guy going in and after him. That was your approach. So
like if I'm going to accuse someone of something, I'm going to make sure I've got all my facts straight and like evidence sorted before I make the accusation, because otherwise you look like an idiot.
Journalists used to be like that back in the day, back when I was your age. You know, when I was in my 30s and 40s and shit like that, journalists were like that. They had everything prepped ahead of time. They had talking points. They were solid in their backup, all that kind of stuff. Today's journalists, what should I ask them about? Oh, ask them about this. Good enough.
No, I mean, it's just, you know, basic due diligence that like you're going to prepare for the interview. If you know you're going to make, you know, a certain claim about someone, you know they're going to ask for the evidence, so you make sure you've got it ready. It's common sense.
So that went viral. It was on, like I said, 5 people that I follow all posted it. I'm not sure, but did Bering do a video on it?
Oh, I think Barry did Bering in ages.
Yeah, no, he just put a couple videos out. One was Dylan.
Mm-hmm. That was funny.
And then he did another one. I forget what that. I think that was about this. But and it went, like I said, it went viral, but I don't know. I don't know how can you recover from that? As a journalist, how can you ever like show your face? Because you just called Elon Musk a liar on national TV.
Yeah.
You know, and you're the one lying. How can you recover from that? Kind of makes me wonder how these journalists get these jobs if they're so inept. How do you get a job being a journalist if you can't just do the basics?
By having the right opinions and saying
yeah.
I'm going to nail Elon Musk with all these risky questions that he's not going to be able to. Oh, wait, I didn't bring any.
So you're saying it's actually a certain amount of entitlement. I'm smarter than Elon. Watch me nail him.
Yeah.
Bad move, man.
Yeah. No.
You can't sit back and tell Elon how to run what he's doing wrong. You think that you're better than him? How come you didn't buy Twitter for $44 billion? You know? How can you possibly say that he's doing things wrong when you're nowhere near as successful as he is?
Frosted is saying the question is, did the journalists in the past have more integrity, or were they just not caught because social media wasn't around? But I mean,
that's a good point.
I think there's kind of both elements to it, where Hammer is right. They were more prepared back then because they still cared about their image. Like they knew that if they looked retarded on camera, then they would lose credibility, and credibility was their like whole thing. But they also still pulled a lot of bullshit. It's just that they actually tried to cover it up, whereas now they don't even give a shit.
I don't think watching 60 Minutes back in the day, I ever saw any of those guys. Even Andy Rooney, it might be before your time, but I don't remember ever seeing any of those guys get their ass handed to them like that.
Yeah, because they, you know,
Do you think they
prepared.
cut? Do you think they cut out the question because they get caught? Maybe they just didn't air it.
That would be a big factor as well. Yeah, I mean, if someone embarrassed them, like remember with Jim Jeffries and Avi Yemeni, like they just
Oh yeah,
butchered his interview and like made it seem like he was saying things he wasn't,
yeah.
and it was only because he had the foresight to record the entire thing that
Who's the
truth got
comedian?
out. Jim Jeffries.
Jim Jeffries. Yeah, I used to like Jim Jeffries.
So did I.
When I found out about that, I immediately didn't like him anymore.
Mm.
Frosty made me laugh. The reason I was laughing when you were talking is because Frosty wrote, I think I'm going to get nailed by BBC. Hell no, Elon Musk. That's not the BBC we were talking about, man.
Well, he is African, so you know.
Andy Rooney existed before everyone's time. Not my time. He wasn't on. I was in my teen years when 60 Minutes started broadcasting, I think.
I've heard the name, but I don't know who he is. Like
He's
I've heard the name like a lot, not just from you, but I don't know who he is other than apparently 60 Minutes guy.
He's an interesting character. He didn't do political things. He did almost kind of a political comedy kind of deal. He kind of looked a little bit like the guy who talks about diabetes.
Oh, okay.
Big ears, older, kind of, someone who's been around, he's like in his 80s or whatever. But redhead, pale skin. And he talked about obvious things that were stupid. I can't really come up with exactly a routine that he did, but I think he's the kind of guy who would get into an argument about the right way or the wrong way to put toilet paper rolls.
Oh, okay.
Did you ever notice? It always started with something along those lines where it's something that a comedy person does. It's very Seinfeld,
Yeah.
But
what's the deal?
Yeah. Or Bill Burr. Did you ever notice that? So did this and that. And,
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of his routine. He was funny, but poignant at the same time, and he was very honest. And his routine, it was usually at the end of 60 Minutes, kind of like last 5 minutes or so. Always kind of left you with a smile at the end because it was.
Well,
it's just good information.
I just looked him up, and his face is familiar, so I've seen him somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd have to go back. He's back to the Dan Rather, Leslie Stahl, although she's still there. That crew back in the day. So he was Seinfeld without the jokes. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't. It was more interesting than funny, but if you thought about it, it usually made you laugh. So
I'm going to be real with you. Seinfeld is Seinfeld without the jokes. His stand-up was terrible. His show was good. I like the sitcom, but his stand-up that he used to play before every episode was terrible.
Yeah, the whole Seinfeld show. I was interested. I was uninterested until I asked what the show was about, and famously I got the reply that he even said it's a show about nothing.
It's not.
And I was like, wait a minute, it's a show about nothing. I have to watch that. I actually watched more Seinfeld than I did Friends.
Seinfeld was a better show. I did like Seinfeld more.
I was really too old for both of them, to be honest with you.
But I do like that Mr. Dax and I are of one mind. Like almost word for word.
Yeah. You didn't read that and then... No, you didn't.
No,
you said
no,
it first.
That's why I'm pointing it out. If I stole his comment, I wouldn't be calling attention to it.
There's a couple of people out on Rumble. Jack is on Rumble. And Mr. Dax is on Rumble. Are you guys having or noticed any problems with audio on Rumble? You could talk on either platform. We can see you on both now. But there was a complaint earlier in the stream that Rumble's audio is screwed up. And if that's true...
Cannibalistic clarified that for a little bit he was getting a bit of an echo. So it sounds like it resolved itself because he said it was only for a little bit.
Oh, okay. All right. Good. Well, I'm glad everything's okay there. We're out of time.
Yeah, my head still hurts too.
Yeah, I want to get out of here anyway because I don't want you having to sit here with headphones on and all that kind of crap. So, all right. I take it you don't have anything else, Terry?
No, all good.
All right. Well, we should probably get out of here then. I'll do my little spiel.
It's 1:30 Gonski, so yeah, we should have been out of here.
Thanks everybody as always for chatting with us tonight. If you can't wait for next Wednesday, sure remember the Minions are live every evening, including weekends, with most shows starting around 11:30 p.m. Eastern, 7 days a week. Host and start times are linked in the description down below. Don't forget about our pre-show on Rumble. That stream will start before 9 p.m. when Terry and Jen get online. We will be back next Wednesday at 9 p.m. as usual. I really have to change the name of that. I have to change that sentence. We will be back. It's a tongue twister. Next Wednesday at 9 p.m. as usual. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we'll see you again next week. Have a great night, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.